we can install. We have seen that there are many ways in which we can install Kubernetes, right? So when I went here and I said Kubernetes getting started, Kubernetes getting started. Getting started with Kubernetes, I saw that there are multiple ways in which I can install Kubernetes. One of the ways to install Kubernetes, if you come to this production environment, there will be something called kops. Wait, let me just check that. Okay, so there is a tool, a deployment tool named as kops. Using kops, wait a second. Using this tool, kops, you can, there are tools like KubeADM, KubeSpray, and there are many such tools which will help you to install Kubernetes environment. Okay, so today what we will do is we will try to install Kubernetes using kops. Okay, so this is what I'm going to do, installing Kubernetes with kops. Now, if you come to this document, it will talk about how to install Kubernetes. So it says, before you begin, you must have kubectl installed. Then you need to install kops, and you must have an AWS account where you should have the IAM keys and all. And then the IAM should have adequate permission, and then you start your work. So it says the first thing you need a Linux machine based on which you will run these commands. Okay, then these are the commands. Then you need a Route 53. So Route 53 is a DNS service in AWS. I'll teach you all these things. Then S3 bucket is a storage component. Then you can create your cluster by running this command, kops create cluster, and this name of the cluster, whatever you want. Then you can go ahead and say create cluster, kops update cluster, the name of the cluster. Yes. So this is what we are going to do. Okay. Now to make this thing work, if you directly come here, you may not find everything in place. So what I will do is I have already created a GitHub documentation for this. So if you come to my documentation here, I have mentioned step by step how to work with this Kubernetes installation documentation and how to work with this. So I have already downloaded this in my local environment, and today we will be installing Kubernetes using these tools. But one thing very important is that you will run your machine, but once your work is done, you delete this cluster. I'm again saying, once your work is done, please delete this cluster because there is a cost involved. It is not free of cost. You're running a production grade environment. In production grade environment, there will be a cost involved. So if you don't want, skip, don't do it. But if you are doing for practice, once you're done, please go ahead and delete the cluster. Okay. So first it says you create a Ubuntu instance, and the Ubuntu instance should be up and running. So let's go step by step. At any point of time, if you feel that you're not able to understand, let me know. I will help you to understand. So I will log into my AWS account. And in my AWS account, I am sitting here in Mumbai region. I will start with EC2. Instance running is 0. So as of now, I don't have anything. I'm going to launch a machine. I'm going to say K8S MGMT node. So this is Kubernetes management node. Then here I'm looking for a Ubuntu machine. You can go with Ubuntu 22.04, which is the latest version, but it should be free tier eligible. That is mandatory. Okay. I'm going with T2 Micro. In key pair, you use any key pair which is already there with you. So this machine is already there with me. In networking, make sure that you open port number 22. So some security group which is already working, use that, and rest you leave as it is. Okay. So I will have my machine up and running. So this is my Ubuntu machine, or the first machine where I'm going to install kubectl. So this is my machine. Click on this, click on the IP address, come here and try to open this machine. So putty, come here and say, now this is not a Amazon Linux machine. It is a Ubuntu machine. So the IP, so the default username will not be.
Sir, can't we install by Linux machine?
Yes, you can do it. you can do it. There is no problem at all. If you want to go with Amazon Linux, you can do that also. Only 1 or 2 commands will change. I will show you that also, what command will change. Mohammed, if you have a question, you can go ahead, man.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I had a question. So because we create this cluster using EKS, so it means the control plane in EKS is not really used.
No, in this scenario, I'm not going to use EKS. Right now, what I'm doing, I'm not using EKS. EKS is Elastic Kubernetes Service, which is a managed service on AWS. So if I just come here and say EKS, this is the managed service where the control plane is automatically given to you by Amazon. See here, fully managed Kubernetes control plane means the master node will be 100% controlled by AWS. Okay. But the example which I'm showing you right now, here, I am the one who is going to manage my master node, my worker node, and everything. I am going to do it. Okay.
Okay, thank you. But just one more question. So in case of GitLab, if we use EKS, the control plane, we don't have access to it, but it's not really used, is it? Because we use an EC2 instance and we install EKS, EKS. We install AWS CLI in it. So we don't really use this control plane. It's not really used.
Not exactly like that. See, you can say that you are not using it directly, but internally it is getting used, because as per the architecture, we are using the control plane. Every activity, management related activity, will happen from the control plane only. So even if you say that I'm not directly using it, internally it is getting used.
Yes, I understand it's used because we communicate with the kubectl.
Yes.
With like using CTL, but except that, like, it's not really used. It's not like if we are manually setting up a cluster and then inside that control plane we install, kubectl and everything.
That is pre-installed. That's what I'm saying. It's a managed service. It is a ready-made solution. You just take the solution and start using it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so EKCTL here it says fully managed Kubernetes control, means it is managed by AWS, means all these things come pre-installed, pre-configured. But now when you say that I am going to do everything, then you're using COPS. When you say COPS, things are not pre-installed. So this is what I'm trying to do here. I am trying to bring up my EC2 instance, which is a virtual machine on cloud environment. And on that machine, I'm going to install everything. So this is what I'm right now trying to do. So this is my Kubernetes management node. And from here, I will start my work. So let me just log in. I just logged in. I'll now become a root user. I will say host name is K8SMGMT node. And again, sudo su -. So this is my machine. Now here I will start my work. Now, what all things I need to do? So if I come back here, it says you need to have kubectl installed. Now, if you go by this documentation, it gives you the latest version. This is the latest version, which is the latest version is 1.23. But if you go with the older version, like how I am going, then you will have to take this command, I guess. See, if you want to specify or download a specific version, then you have to run this piece of command, something like this. Okay, like here they are telling if you want to download 1.20, you have to mention it like this. So in my documentation also, I have mentioned the latest, mentioned the particular version. Listen, you can go ahead, man. You can put your question on the chat window. I will take it from there. Okay, so I will go by the documentation which I have created. So here it says, first you update your machine. Okay, so let me come here. So this is my machine. First, if you're using Amazon Linux, you will run it like this, yum update -y. If you're using Amazon Linux. But am I using Amazon Linux? No, I'm using Ubuntu machine. So I will run apt get update -y. The first thing is I will update the Ubuntu machine. Generally, why we do it? If there are some packages which are to be updated from Ubuntu's end, it will run. Okay. So this is point number 1. Second point is that I will go ahead and install AWS CLI. How to install that? So the command is very simple. If you're again using Amazon Linux, you will have that pre-installed, but I don't have it. apt get install AWS CLI -y. Sorry. Okay, so it's saying, sorry, what is the problem? apt get install AWS, not -CLI, my bad. It is AWS CLI, one complete word. So it will go ahead and install AWS CLI for me. Okay, why am I doing like this? Because I am running these commands on AWS environment. If I was not running on AWS environment, if I was running on some other environment like GCP or anything like that, then I will not need it. I'll show you tomorrow how to install the same thing on GCP. One very important thing, we need not memorize these commands. Okay. Okay. So here your question is a very valid one, that I have used CloudFormation. Okay, let me just say okay for this. Daemon using as outdated. Let me just come here, here. Okay. Okay. So the question here is the EKS cluster which you created using CloudFormation. But what if I want to create using Terraform? So give me some time for that. I'll show you that. So creating EKS cluster via Terraform is also very similar to how you created via CloudFormation. Okay. So anyhow, I have my AWS CLI ready. So if I come here and say AWS version, I can see this is the latest version, and Python also is what 3.10. Now it says, then you install kubectl. So I will take this set of commands and don't directly paste it, because if you directly paste it, these things will come in between. 1 second. Run these 4 commands simultaneously.
Because in Friday session, we have done this thing already, right?
No, it was not done. I think you have joined late. I told that Friday we used EKS CTL. Okay, now I'm not going with EKS. I'm going with the installation direct. I am not installing EKS. Rather, I'm using kops to create my own master and worker node. kubectl get kubectl version. So if you see here, for me, it is giving me a warning that this is deprecated. This version is not the latest version, but I am okay with this. And I can see it says this is the latest version.
Kops is also one of the way to install, right?
It's kops is also one of the way. This is what I started in the beginning with. So here you can see installing Kubernetes with kops. So I came from there only, production environment, container runtime environment. I told you there are 10 different ways of installing Kubernetes. Okay, EKS CTL was one of them.
No, I just got confused. Last Friday also we have installed, right? With
that was EKS
kubectl.
Yes. Okay. Then
because kops will support for the on-prem servers.
It will support. See, just go through here.
Okay.
And say Kubernetes is getting started. Kubernetes getting started. Here, when you come to production environment, in production environment, you can come here, Control F, kops, container runtime environment.
Then which ways of installation is good for production? Sir?
That your company will decide. I cannot say that, okay, this is the right way or that's the wrong way. I cannot say like that, because different companies have different standards. Okay, there will be few companies who will go with kops. There will be few companies who will go with kubectl. There will be few companies who will go with GCP. But for you, you don't have to worry, because at the end of the day, whatever they are using, you don't worry. The commands which we will run, that will remain same. Okay, so this is what we are doing, installing Kubernetes with kops. So I started here. It says you need a machine where kubectl is installed. Then you install kops, and then you create a IAM. You in your AWS account, you create a IAM key and give the adequate permission. So this is what I am doing right now. Just go a step back. Okay, so kubectl I have installed. Second is go and install kops. So this is the command to install kops. If you don't want to follow my documentation, this is the command install kops Linux. Take this command from here. But I will recommend that go with this thing. I'll tell you the reason, because there will be many version incompatibility issues. Like this version is not working with this, something like that may happen. So let's stick to what I am showing you right now. So I have done 3 things here as of now. I have installed kubectl.
How many ways of installations are there?
There are 100+ ways. Okay, there is a tool which is open source, free. Okay, so any company can go ahead and do anything they want. Okay, so that's what I am telling you. There are many ways of doing it. So as of now, I have installed Kubernetes. I have installed 3 things here. One is kubectl. Okay, then I installed AWS CLI. Okay, and then I have installed kops. So 3 things I have installed. Okay, now what next? So it says create an IAM user and give him these permissions. Okay, so you can start here. Now what is an IAM user? So on AWS side, you create, or when you log in, right? When you log in, you are a root user. Now root user is a user who will get all the access, whatever access you want, he will get all the access. But in production kind of work, we don't give complete access to everyone. Okay, so here we create a role. Okay, and in that role we give the relevant permission. Okay, so who is going to use it? So my EC2 instance is going to use it. Take it here. Next, what permission would you like to give? So let me start with, I will give only one permission for time being. Okay, administrator permission, ADMINISTRATOR. So I'll give administrator access at this point of administrator access. Okay, as of now, I'll give only one access, and then I will go ahead and say next, give a name. So just put it like this, KASEVENING admin. So this is what I have created. Okay, go all the way down here, create role. So this role will get created. Now go back to your EC2 instance. Okay, and attach this role, because this EC2 instance has to do all the work. So I'll give him that permission. How to do that? Click on this, actions, security, modify IAM role, and choose that role. So see here, K8S evening admin. This is what I've created. Update. So my instance, Kubernetes instance, which you see here, has the permission to do whatever I want to do. Okay, now EC2 dashboard, instance. So this guy is ready. I need one more thing. What is that? Storage. So I need a storage component, or I need a place where I can store my things, because when Kubernetes will work, it will create a lot of metadata. So I need to store all these things. Okay, so for that, you create a storage component. So to create a storage component, give me 1 second. Let me delete something which I don't need. So this is from my morning class. I don't need it. Let me delete it. Okay, now let me say I want to create a bucket. So bucket is nothing but a storage component on AWS. So bucket name, you give any name of your choice. Let me say I'm giving the name as EVENG. Demo K8S evening.net. You give any name. Okay, you give your name. But at the end, you give something like .net, .com, or anything like that. Why? Because in the documentation also, if you see here now, create a S3 bucket. So here also, it will ask you to give a name like this, example.com or something like that, .net, .com, .co, something like this, because this has to match with this guy, DNS, Route 53. So I'll tell you what is Route 53. But while creating the bucket, make sure that you give a unique name. This, nobody has used it ever before. You're creating in Mumbai. I am in Mumbai region, and just that's it. Go down and say, I want to create this bucket. That's it. So this is the storage component. Okay, let's wait for this. So successfully created. Now we will be doing something called DNS. Now, if I say DNS, what do you mean by that? So generally what happens when we say that I'm running a website, okay, something like this. Now, when you run a website or a web server, that machine will have an IP address. But when you go to a friend of yours and say that, I have a machine running and this is the IP address. So anybody will be having difficulty in remembering the IP address. So rather what we say is, okay, my machine is running at www.amazon.com, www.example.com. So this DNS server, whenever the person is typing www.example.com, it will convert to the IP address and then it will redirect to the actual web server. So this is DNS server and this is the actual server. So in AWS, we have something called Route 53, which does that. Now this, whatever we are creating is very specific to AWS, and that's the reason we are using the services of AWS. Okay. Now, suppose you don't want to use AWS service, you can go to websites like GoDaddy.com and all those things, and you can buy a domain name for yourself. Obviously, you have to spend some money. You have to buy a domain name. So let me say a .in domain name I'm planning to buy. So some money you have to spend and you have to buy that domain name. Okay. But here, I'm not trying to spend any money. I will directly go. So I will come here and say, I want to create a hosted zone. And whatever name of the bucket you have given, on the similar line, you give a name here. So if you remember, I have given the name as EVE and EVENG. So I have given a similar name to this guy, EVENG. Okay, that's it. It is a private one because it is within AWS. I have not bought it. So within AWS, and also within AWS, I'm using it within Mumbai region because I am doing everything in Mumbai. Choose the default VPC. So it's a networking thing. Go down, create hosted zone. So be very careful when you're choosing these items. Okay. So you have EVENG and you have created your bucket. Let me come back to the document. IAM role done. S3 bucket done. Route 53 done. Then it says that you go ahead and run this command. Now what this command will do is eveng.net. Now what this command will do is it will say kops state store, means I'm going to use kops. Kops is going to install Kubernetes for me. Anything which Kubernetes kops is going to generate, you put it here, means you store it at this location. So this is my S3 bucket or my storage component. So let me just come back and validate whether it is the same or not, because if I misspell the name, then this will not work. So this is what I have, K8 as eveng.net. So as of now, you see objects are 0, right? Nothing is there. eveng.net. So the name should be correct. Okay. Then there will be like master node, worker node and all. So they have to connect to each other. So for that, you do a SSH keygen. So SSH keygen. So basically what will happen? A pair of private and public key will be generated and that can be used to connect. Just keep enter, and then you will see one public and one private key is generated. Okay. It will be used for connectivity purpose. I'll explain this later. Now, once you are done with that also, this also you have done, you can create your cluster by running this command. Something like this. Now, what is this command and how do I come to this command? So you say kops, create a cluster for me. So when I say cluster, it is a combination of master and worker node. On cloud AWS, the zone is nothing but this guy. So this, if you come back to here, instance, so you can see this is your availability zone, AP South 1B. So let me say, I'm going to run it at AP South 1B. So if you're running it in, let me say, some different region, that zone will be different for you. But I am running at AP South 1B. The name of the cluster. So what is the name of the cluster? So I have given the name of the cluster as demo K8S. This is name of my bucket, EVENG. Okay, EVENG.net. Okay, this is my name, and the DNS name, if you remember, I have given it as EVENG.net. EVENG.net. And the DNS is a private one because I've not bought it. It is private to AWS. So just before running this, validate everything. This is my bucket name, which is also my cluster name. This should be matching. Okay. Then this is my DNS name, evng.net. Copy this guy. Make sure that the names are correct. Okay. Done. Now take this command and run it. Okay. So I'll again say what is the command saying. Cops, create a cluster for me on AWS cloud. Okay. The zone is AP South 1B. The name is the name of my bucket or the storage component. And I'm going to use a DNS service called evening.net, and it is a private one. Enter. Okay. It says multiple arguments look like cluster name. Okay, I think I missed something.
Because the space evening dot
Yeah,
evng.net.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay. Now read through this. Wait, hold on. When this is coming up, no, just read out this guy. A lot of things will come, but let's read out one by one. In a very small span of time, lot of things came up. So when you ran this command, cops create cluster, right? You can see there is a IP range allocated to your this thing. It is getting created in this location. And here it says a cluster will start the creation work, and it will use the SSH key which you have used. Okay, because there are many Linux machine. It says the cops version which you are using is not the latest one. You can upgrade it. I say, okay, leave it. It's a private DNS.
This SSH key, we have not taken it, right? We just
We have
updated
just
key.
generated it. SSH keygen. We have just generated it. That's
Yeah,
it.
generated, but we have not entered manually, right?
No,
Is that will be taking
no.
automatically?
It will take automatically.
And again, there are two, no? One is for
Private and public.
yeah.
So
The which one it will be selected automatically? Both
public.
or
No, public.
public? Okay, but we are connecting for private only, no?
No. I'll explain that. Give me 1 minute for that. So now here it says I'll create auto scaling for you. Okay. Then it says the master node name will be this, and this is my DNS name which I have given, and there will be worker nodes. Okay, and the worker nodes will be auto scaled by this name, node.demo.k8sevening.net. Then if you keep coming down, it will tell you that this is where I'm going to create. etcd will be created, RBAC roles will be created, the cluster will be created. So basically all these items will be created one by one. Okay, so if you want, you can read through this. It will tell you that, okay, there is a master node, worker node, all these things will come. Okay, and RBAC roles will make sure that you get relevant permission. If you see here, now API server will be created, CA, or you have something called namespace that will be created. Okay, and everything like your versions will be there. Okay, like you see kube proxy server here is API server is there. So V1 alpha, like that, everything will go ahead by as per its own thing. Now you can see here control manager is there, kube controller is there, kube proxy is there, kube scheduler is there, kube config is there, kubelet is there. Okay, kube API server is there. So all these things will be automatically created. When I say automatically, cops is the one who's going to do everything for me. Now let me just walk through all these things. Just go at the last. Now take this thing here, whatever you see at the end, no, take it here. See here, it says, if you want to see what is going to get created, run this command, cops get cluster. Cops get cluster. So it's saying this is the name of the cluster to be created on AWS cloud, and this is the zone where it is going to get created. Now, Kops has written a manifest file for you. It says edit the cluster with this guy, Kops edit cluster. And this is the name of the cluster. If you want to edit something on what Kops has created for you. So here you can see API version, kind, metadata, and spec. Here it is saying the API version is this one. It's a cluster. The metadata is the timestamp and the name. Then here there is a DNS name, API server, RBAC authentication, cloud provider is AWS. Okay, etcd details are there. So like this, if you want, you can keep going down. All the details are pre-configured by Kops. This is the IP range. All these things are being taken by Kops. Now, if you want to change something, you can change, but I don't want to change anything. I'll say escape, okay, colon, Q, exclamation mark, means quit and exit. I don't want to change anything. I just quit. Don't change anything here. Edit, cancel, no changes were made. Yes, I would like to change, but where? Edit your node instance group. So if you want to change your worker node, then you run this command, Kops edit. This is my worker node, okay? Demo KATS using it nodes, worker nodes. Now let it open. Now, how am I going to change this? So let me just bring my on-screen keyboard here. Okay, so if you write anything now, nothing will work. So first say escape, then say I. So this will come in insert mode. Okay, now whatever changes you want to do, you can do. Now majorly what changes we do. So we come down, see here. So here it says the machine type is going to be T2 medium. You know, if you go with T2 medium, it will be cost. So I will say T2 micro and do it like this. Max size. How many instances would you like? Maximum, I'll say 5. Minimum, I will say 3. So I'm precisely saying I need 3 worker nodes to run at any point of time. Obviously, if the workload will increase, I will make it 5. Okay, you can change this at any point of time, but as of now, this is what I want. I want to create it in AP South 1P. So you are giving the parameters for auto scaling. That minimum I want 3 instances to run, and maximum it can go to 5. Now, once you have
question, sir, Vikas,
Yep.
quick question, sorry. Actually, what was the importance of the API server? And we never requested to create that, but it has automatically created.
Yes. So if you remember the architecture of Kubernetes, I told that API server is the channel of communication. It is the gateway.
Okay.
Any request which will go inside my cluster will go with API server only.
Okay, that's the reason default it got created.
Yes. And the Kops is the tool which is creating it for me. Okay.
Okay.
So once I have done the changes, I will say escape, then colon, WQ exclamation mark, means write, quit, and exit. Means whatever changes I have done, you make those changes. Enter. Here it has been changed. So what I have done, I have changed my worker node. Similarly, if you want to change your master node, you're not happy with what they're giving by default. You want to change it. So you have to come here, take this guy. Now here again, skip. Okay, can you go on mute? Okay, so this is my API version. Okay, this is my instance group. Okay, kind in instance group. It is not saying master, it is saying instance group. Metadata, I am giving the timestamp and the name to this master API. If you want to change the name, you change the name. Now, things which I would like to change. It is not C4 large. If you go with C4 large, it is good, but cost is there. T2 micro. On AWS, T2 micro is free of cost. So I'll go with T2 micro. My worker node, I need 2. Means if some workload has increased or my master node has failed. So I need 2 as the maximum size. And minimum is 1. Okay, that's it. I don't want to change anything. So escape, then go with colon, WQ exclamation mark, means write, quit, exit. Done. So I've changed my worker node, I've changed my master node, and now I want to apply this. Means whatever Kops has given, Kops created a template for me and told this is what I'm going to create with that. If you are okay, Then let me say to work. If you're not okay, I am going to give you the edit command. So it gave me the edit command. I have edited as per my requirement. Now it says, if you're okay with these commands, you can run your cluster with this name. This is the command kops update the cluster. The name of the cluster is this guy, --es is I give you my confirmation. It is saying kops is outdated, but that's okay. Now let it run. So here it is saying kube scheduler, kube config, kube controller, kops, kubelet API, API server, master, kubelet, kube proxy. These are the things which I'm going to create. So basically the entire infrastructure of Kubernetes will be created. 86 components are getting created and everything is ready. Okay. Now update cluster is going to happen. Now here again, there are a set of commands. Let me take this. And here it says the cluster is starting. It should be ready in few minutes. I'm saying, okay. Now let me come here and put this command here. So it says, if you want to validate your cluster, whether the cluster is ready or not, you can run this command, kops validate cluster. So let me clear all these things and run this command, kops validate cluster. Now, if I see here, it says using kubectl for this particular cluster, this is what I'm trying to validate. There is a master node with this name. The role is master. You have made it T2 micro. Minimum capacity is 1, maximum capacity is 2, and it is going to be created in AP South 1B. Similarly, nodes, which is worker node. It's a worker node, T2 micro. The minimum capacity is 3, the maximum capacity is 5, and it is going to get created in AP South 1B. As of now, the node status is blank, means it is not ready to be ready to take load. That's why it is saying validation error and it is saying validation failed. Now, if you read this, it clearly says it will take some 5 to 10 minutes for the master to start, the DNS controller to launch, and the DNS to propagate. Means the entire network, because if you see this diagram or see this setup clearly, I have something like this. I have
the max can be n number of nodes.
Max and min is your call. You give any number. 1 second, format.
Because I have one question regarding this max and min. Okay, so in here you have manually assigned as max minimum 1 and maximum 5.
Yes.
So in case, let's take one scenario, there is an application running in the cluster. So if the traffic is high, then automatically it should cross more than 5, right? The worker node has to be more than 5.
No,
so,
see, generally when you create a cluster, you have to give an upper limit or a lower limit. Why? I will tell you. Let me say you did not give an upper limit. Somehow some infinite loop happened in your code. So when you're running it, automatically it will reach 100%. So let me say it happened at night, 12 o'clock. Morning, when you come up, you will see like 10,000 servers are running. Running 10,000 servers is not a problem. But running those 10,000 servers will give you a cost of like $1 million, which is a problem. So whenever we start a cluster, we always give an upper limit.
Okay. So auto scaling and load balancing, if you create co-ops or even in EKS, we don't need to manually assign. It automatically takes based on the load.
Exactly. That's the major difference here.
So we don't even want to worry about auto scaling and load balancing when we create the cluster.
Yes. So let me explain that.
But in auto scaling, we say there is 2 types, right? Vertical and horizontal. So
we never do vertical scaling. We never do vertical scaling. Always
it go horizontal.
Always horizontal scaling.
Okay. Whatever the instance we create initially, the instance will be created multiple times.
Yes, it is always horizontal scaling. I'll explain that also. Okay. So this is the setup which I have done right now. Now, for me, I will say that this is my cluster. This is my cluster. Because in the beginning, when I started my class, I told cluster is a combination of master and worker node. So in my setup, I told that for this guy, the max will be 2 and the min will be 1. So like I was explaining right now, I told I cannot just leave this number max. If I leave this number, it may scale infinitely. Some hack has happened, something went wrong, some infinite loop my code has entered. So it will infinitely loop, which will become a problem. So max min is always needed. The same happens with worker node also. Max min. Okay, so max I have mentioned 5, min I have mentioned 3. So you can see here 3 worker nodes will come up. Okay, now anytime when you use EKS CTL, it's a managed cloud service. When you say managed, means somebody is doing for you. So when I start with EKS CTL, this master is taken care by, this guy is taken care by AWS. So I don't have to configure anything. If you see here, I am configuring max, min, auto scaling, load balancing. I am configuring. This master is in complete control. What I want to do, I am putting it inside. I just now edited my master file. So I am controlling everything. When you use EKS CTL, you do not control the master. You can only go and put your content on the worker node. This is the major difference between you managing and cloud managing for you. Okay, this is very important. At the end of the day, Kubernetes is Kubernetes. Everywhere it is same. You run it on GCP, AWS, Azure, on your local machine, on your virtual machine. Everywhere it is same. But this master node, if you are running on Azure, Azure will manage it. If you are running on GCP, GCP will manage it. If you are running on AWS, AWS is managing it via EKS CTL. Obviously, you told that I need EKS CTL to manage it. In my scenario right now, COPS, I am saying I will manage the master, I will manage the worker node. That's the difference. Okay. Here I clearly mentioned
EKS definitely is a drawback.
Hold on. Here I clearly told this is my master node, this is my worker node, this is the main max, this is the instance type, this is all the details almost I have provided. Okay, whatever default values COPS provide, on top of that I can make changes and I can say, okay, I want to do a SSH. I want to do run this thing here. So all these things I can control. But when you go with EKS CTL, most of the control is lying with my AWS. It's a managed service. Okay. Now please go with questions.
Because for COPS, as you said, the master will be taken care from our side. So in that case, auto scaling and load balancing, do we need to configure manually, or is there any script for that?
No. You don't have to configure anything manually. That's the reason I'm using COPS. COPS, okay. Kubernetes operations. It's a tool. That tool will help you to do that. So you don't have to manually do all these things.
Only we need to give the IAM permission roles to create all this.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Only you have to give that. It will take care of all the other things.
Okay.
In this scenario, like the master can scale out to 2 and the worker nodes can be because if 2 masters are there, it can lead to 10 maximum of worker nodes.
No. The count of master node can be 1 or 2. The count of worker nodes can be 3 and 5. Anything between that.
Yeah. Because of the work pressure or CPU burst or whatever it is, it's being the importance of another master node arrived.
So that's why we bring monitoring in picture. That's why we bring monitoring in picture. The moment you spin up a cluster, you don't know the initial workload or the workload which will come after 6 months. So you start monitoring the application. Okay. And the moment there is a red alarm that the CPU utilization is going beyond 90%, you have to scale it. Okay. Let me say this max has now to be changed to 5. Probably your requirement is 5. So that has to be changed in the file, the file which I showed you.
So this will have so many master nodes then.
This will have 5 master nodes. See, it is very simple, right? If the load has increased, I need those many servers to take that load. Like as an individual, I'll give you an example. As an individual, let me say I cook food for 2 people at my home, but due to some reason, I cooked food for 10 people. It means I will not be able to consume the food for 10 people. I will need those many people to come to my home and take that food, or they have to consume that food. So every server will have a capacity. It may be 2, 10, 20, 100, whatever users it will be able to tackle. That's one scenario, but it will have a capacity. So if the workload increases, definitely you have to increase your master node and worker node count respectively.
Okay,
And
so
sir,
because regarding this EKS, when we everything is managed by cloud, and with respect to COPS that we are installing now, so why would people go with COPS? Because like we are managing the way we manage the errors, we get more compared
No, it
to
is
the
not like
cloud
that.
management.
It is not like that. See, cloud is, I'll give you another example. Now, let me say on YouTube, there is a video. You can watch the video and you can learn. But still you come to a person who will tell you step by step everything. Okay. Why? There is a difference. The guy who is teaching in YouTube, he's not teaching anything which is out of the world, or I am teaching something which is out of the world. At the end of the day, the concept is same. So the way of working, the way of operation is different. There is a company who doesn't want to get into the management related activities. They don't have that kind of workforce. So they will go with EKS, which is managed. AWS, they'll just raise a complaint and the AWS people will come and solve it. But let me say I have the workforce, or I have a customized requirement. Again, go with the Docker image, which is already present, and a custom image, which you are creating. Why do you create a custom image? Because you have a custom requirement. So in your organization, you have a custom requirement, which is not feasible in EKS. Then you have to come to COPS. You have to bring everything to COPS and you have to manage it in that way.
and sir, in COPS, master will have the W1, 2, 3, 4 data, all the data, right?
It will, master will have your
Or it
ETCD.
would be like master is nothing but only for management related.
Master
thing.
will have ETCD and ETCD will have all the data.
So even if you lose W1 also, we can get it by master.
Yes, you can get it back. Auto scaling will happen. Automatically, it will bring up W1 back.
Okay.
Okay. Now, let me just delete this drawing. And I'm assuming.
Sorry, just one question. Sorry. Why would we need more like 3 to 5 master nodes?
Can you tell why do we need more?
Master nodes like 3 to 5. You mentioned minimum
That's
3,
what I
max
told.
5.
The workload has increased. One master node, let me say, is capable of taking 10 requests per second. There are 100 requests which is coming per second. What will you do? You will have to need more master.
So will you install load balancer or?
No, I'm not doing anything. COPS is a tool. Tool is going to do everything for you. You have already to set your upper limit and lower limit. So COPS is going to do it. See here, I have used COPS. COPS validate the cluster for me. So COPS is saying, hold on, this is your master node. Minimum is 2, minimum is 1, maximum is 2. So any activity, load balancer, auto scaling, one pod is dead, or any management related activity, COPS will do. COPS will do.
Okay,
But,
so for COPS, do you still use CloudFormation?
That was EKS CTL.
Yeah, but you are not going to, basically you are going to give permission to COPS to create some new servers.
I could not get your question.
So you are going to give the permission to COPS to create some new servers.
Yes, already I did. When I created this IAM thing, I gave the permission, right?
Yeah, but in this case, why don't you use CloudFormation?
Because
IAM is only for IAM is only for COPS to have access to.
Yes. See, I'm not willing to go with something which is pre-managed or pre-configured. I am more interested in doing everything from my own hand. That's why I'm not going with CloudFormation.
Okay, so how will you know? Let's say you said 3 to 5, yeah. Let's say COPS needs according to the traffic, it needs 7 master nodes. What will you do?
You will have to monitor these applications. There is something called monitoring.
So will you get any notification or?
Yes, definitely. There will be alarms raised. You will get notifications that your machine is throttling. Your users will start complaining. So all these things will happen.
Thank you.
And sir,
yeah.
I have one more doubt. See, assume there is one scenario that one master has connected with 20 worker nodes, and tomorrow if I want another master to be created, and at the same 20 servers, I need to connect it with the that particular master. Parallelly, I have to work with the existing one also. The 2 master and 20 worker nodes.
Just update it here. It will take care of everything.
Means parallelly 2 masters will also work and 20.
That is your deployment strategy. I told you that there is a deployment strategy called rolling update. So that will take care of that. And just update it here. You need 5 nodes. Just come here and make the change. Say that I need 5 nodes.
No. In the sense.
No. I
Two
got your
masters.
question. See, whatever you want, you update it here.
Okay. I was asking for SSH connectivity between the master
All
and
those things cops will take care. And you run this. You run this command. Cops update the cluster. The name of the cluster, yes. Automatically 5 worker nodes, if the workload is increased, 5 master nodes will come and they will distribute the workload. It will happen.
Okay.
See,
so
remember
basically COPS, because one now actually basically COPS is like a template, like which
COPS is a tool. Don't say it's a template, it's a tool which will do the entire Kubernetes architectural setup for you.
okay.
You tell how many masters you want, you tell how many workers you want, and it will spin up the entire cluster or entire structure for you and give it to you. Internally, it will manage load balancing, auto scaling. If some container is dying, some pod is dying, some machine has crashed, it will take care of everything.
Okay.
Now,
only just we'll give the values, editing, how much we want, how much nodes we want, masters we want, or any other like auto scaling also can be automatically it will take, but it is going from the cloud, right? Cloud and right auto scaling is.
Yes. So now if you see here, I'm in my Kubernetes management node. I want to go inside my cluster. So this is the command for that. SSH into master. If you want to SSH into your master, take this. Okay. And before going there, I will run one command. kubectl get nodes. Show me how many nodes are there. See here, it is saying 1 master node and 3 worker nodes are there. Now you say, I want to go inside my master node. This is the command SSH -i. This is the key you generated. Admin @ this is the machine's master. This thing. Do you want to get authenticated? Yes. Now you see admin @ 172.20.58.132. Who is this? So let me come back to my AWS. So earlier I had only 1 machine running. Refresh. Now you will see master and 3 worker nodes. So I can see only 2. 3 are there. Sorry, 3 are there. Click on master. Go to the IP address 172.20.58.132. 172.20.132. So this is admin user. Just upgrade to root user. Sudo su -. And now you're all set. Run whatever command you want to. Let me say I want to run a command which is something like this. I want to run a deployment like this. This is my imperative way of running. kubectl run a deployment for me with the name as sample nginx. Use nginx image. The replica is 2 and the port is 80. Okay, come here. Some warning, ignore it. kubectl get all. You can see 2 pods are coming up. This is my deployment. This is my replica set. You will say, no, I want to run it declarative way. Deployment.yaml. Take the deployment script. Where will you get it? You will get it here. Deployment in Kubernetes. So from this place, you can run your imperative, declarative, whatever commands you want, you can run it here. Paste it, Control X, Y, enter. Now, how do you run it? kubectl apply -f at this deployment.yaml. Deployment, nginx deployment created. clear everything. Go here and say kubectl get all. See here, two deployments came up. This is my Nginx deployment from my declarative syntax. This is for my imperative syntax, and the containers are getting created. And you can do whatever you have done till date using your interactive shell. You can do everything here. The benefit is you control the nodes. Okay, you know how many master nodes are there, how many worker nodes are there. When you go with EKS-CTL, AWS is controlling it. When you run with AWS, when you run it on an interactive shell, Kubernetes or the platform is controlling it. But here you get the control of the hardware as well as the software part. So that's the benefit. Okay, I will teach you one more way in the GCP how we do it. And as I told you, there are 100 ways of installing it. Your call or the company's call, how they want to do it. But this does not matter. Okay, the only thing which will matter is how are you running these commands here? Like, let me say I am running this. Now I see all the containers are running. I don't want them. So I can delete them. How? kubectl delete -f. This deployment got deleted. Delete -f.
In which node these pods are creating, it will be depends on the master, right? It will
Yes, everything will depend on the master.
Okay. If
do
you
we
want to
have
use
any command?
separate node, we can give.
No, those things you don't have to do. The master node will take care of that.
Okay, like see, because I just want to create the pods in separate one node only. Like
I will tell you I will tell you how to do that. That will come later.
okay. Can you delete? Can you terminate one instance now, like cloud worker node, and we'll see whether it is creating.
So let
not
me
here, not here from the AWS. We'll delete manually.
Oh, this we are trying to do.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Any worker node will delete.
This is the worker node. Okay.
Yeah, terminate.
Then wait for some time. It will automatically come up. Okay. More questions?
Yeah, because
so
regarding
master...
if we have
okay.
So because if we have two master nodes and sorry, if you have two master nodes and I want to create a worker nodes, so that where do we have command where the worker nodes specifically under the master nodes and
No, that kind of
like that?
setup is not there. Cops will
Okay.
manage all these things. You just need to deal with master node in the AWS architect. Sorry, in the Kubernetes architectural diagram, I clearly mentioned that you deal with master. You don't have to deal with worker nodes. Worker nodes, that who will go where, all those things will be done by Kubernetes. Yes, there are ways, but as of now, let's concentrate only on master. All the management related activities will be done by master. That's it.
Okay.
Because so we have created the cluster. Okay. So in this master node, if we want to have our old, I mean, whatever we studied, like Jenkins server, so we can add all these in the master.
Yes. See, in case you want your own stuff, let me say you want your own stuff. So where will you put all these things? You will create a container out of that.
Okay.
And you will create an image out of that and you will put it here in the deployment file.
Okay.
So here I am running Nginx image. You don't run Nginx image. You run your own customized images. You put it here, it will run that particular thing. Again, same thing. The actual work will still be done by container. You are only doing the container management using Kubernetes.
Okay. Any backup for the cluster? If something happens to the cluster,
as of now, there is no backup, but precisely if you want, you can use PVC as a backup for the data.
For the entire cluster?
Yes. No, for the data. If you want backup of this, then you will have to go with a different deployment strategy, blue-green deployment strategy. So here, as of now, if
but blue-green is for the deployment, right? For production versions, different versions deploy.
So that's what I'm saying. See, there is version 1, version 2. Okay, you want to keep a backup of version 1, then you can use a blue-green deployment. I'll come to that. That will come in the coming classes. But as of now, because in my master node, because in my master node, I have kept the count as minimum count as 1. At any point of time, kops will make sure that will be here. So
Okay.
at any point of time, master node will be working.
And also because today we have created all our worker and master in Mumbai AP South 1.
Yes.
So if there is nodes with different locations or different zones, will that be possible through VPC?
Yes, it is possible. It is possible. So you don't have to mention AP South 1B. You mention it at different location. Then it will go at different locations. And one thing which I want to show you here is, see here, I deleted the cluster, right? A new cluster came up here, 2001. All the other clusters are at 1938. So this is your new cluster which came up, or the new node which came up. Okay. Now, one very important thing, once your work is done, please remember to delete your cluster. Very important. Many times I see this problem. People come up saying that, sir, yeah.
Yesterday I was asked about the if you want to add a condition like based on CPU, we can automate to like increase the nodes. How we can do that?
Yes, I will come to that. You have to give me some time for that. While creating your pods, you mentioned that. I will let you know.
Not about pods actually. This one is about the nodes. So auto scaling group. So how we can manage based on the conditions.
I will let you know. Those parameters you can put in your cluster creation script. I'll let you know. Give me some time. Okay. That will anyhow.
Because yeah, this is just a curiosity, like how the Jenkins server is currently running under a master node and the respective.
That's what I told. No, see, if you want to run
nothing but the Kubernetes cluster, the Jenkins server.
See, I told you, right? See, if you want to run Jenkins server, instead of using Nginx image, run your Jenkins image. Here you change. Whatever you want to run, you change the image here. That is all what you have to do. All the other things will be taken care by Kubernetes only.
Okay, thank
you. Okay.
Hi, because I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Please, I want you to go to EKS service in AWS. Since you created this cluster using the corps, does it going to appear there?
No. EKS will not be created. EKS is a completely different service. I have not touched EKS at all. So EKS will not be created. See here, there is no such cluster here. This is not via EKS. Everything is here on your EC2. Nothing is on EKS. These are the machines which I'm running. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, guys. See you then. Bye-bye.